Welcome to Ecstatic Stanzas, an educational series on creativity, community, and writing careers. I'm Evelyn Berry, your girlfriend's favorite poet, and today we'll be discussing developing a space for your writing practice, both externally and internally. It is tempting to say that it doesn't matter where we write, that we can hypothetically write anywhere, and that's technically true. Besides, so many of us live lives so cramped and crammed that it's difficult to find space for writing. We rarely have our own home offices or, in Virginia Woolf's words, a room of one's own. If we are lucky enough to have such spaces, how should we design them? What do we need in that space? I like to have a desk. I have a very simple desk in the guest room of our 2-bedroom townhouse. It's usually cluttered with books and paperwork and a lot of knickknacks. And otherwise, I try to clear it for the sake of sitting down to actually write something. I like to have a clean desk. So at least once a week, I usually clear everything off my desk so that when I actually sit down, I'm alone with a laptop or a notebook. I also think about the temperature. I live in South Carolina, so it is super, super hot. I prefer a really cool room, the kind of cold that is slightly uncomfortable, maybe with a fan blowing on me. I like to sit as straight as possible, often in a slightly uncomfortable chair, but with some padding. I don't write in bed, almost ever. I try not to write with the television on, because if I do, I'll just abandon the project and just watch television. I've mentioned recently the importance of a schedule, right? How writing each day at the same time can help trigger for us a kind of Pavlovian response, right? So I want to make it so that when my alarm goes off in the morning and when I sit down at the desk in the guest room, my body knows it's time to write. The time and space during which I write work together to spur me into action. For many of us, we don't have the luxury of writing at home. This is a place, after all, brimming with distractions and obligations, the temptation of television and naps. Not that there's anything wrong with television or naps, but if we want to make the space to write, one of the things we can do is look outside of where we live. If you have money to burn, you might consider a co-working space, the kind of neutral office space that offers Wi-Fi, free coffee, and a foosball table with a shared kitchen. But also, that same kind of space and solitude might be found at our local libraries in a free-to-rent study room, which is true where I live. Sometimes I prefer the kind of gentle, consistent din of a coffee shop, right? The hiss of a barista burning latte foam or ambient music and a couple breaking up next to you and then a Baptist Bible study on the other side. Again, I'm really just talking about my experience here in South Carolina. But we all have different preferences, right? We all, some of us like quiet, some of us like a little bit of noise, some of us like to be in the hustle and bustle. What I think is even more important than creating the space and reserving the time is also having frank conversations with those with whom you live about respecting the sanctity of that time and space. Communicate that this is something important to you, vital, that you will be available once the writing is done, whether that's in 15 minutes or 2 hours. And I think most people are respectful of this request, unless, of course, you live with a toddler or a puppy or a very inconsiderate roommate. Who knows? The space we enter to write is not just a physical space. It is also a headspace. How do we enter into the mindset on a regular basis of drafting or revision? I think it's important to do the following. Set intentions about what you'd like to accomplish. Do you want to finish a scene today? Do you want to write a certain number of words? Do you have a goal in mind for how many pages you'll write today? Do you want to listen to music, or will you find that distracting? This is also really common, right? I prefer lo-fi music, anything without words, usually from like a YouTube channel. And I use noise canceling headphones, which have been a deeply useful investment in my creative life, whether I'm at home or out in public. I think it can also be helpful to surround yourself with stuff that is encouraging, whether that's words on your desk or tacked to your wall. I usually surround myself with art of artists I love or friends. I know it's corny, but it's really astonishing how much can be accomplished by inspiring or encouraging yourself. And sometimes inspiration is not what's needed. What's needed is that I just show up to work, just as I might reluctantly arrive at my desk day job. The work must be done, and I must be the one to do it. On hard days, sometimes this attitude can get us through. Sometimes we could just push through. At least we can end up with words on the page, something on the page, right? And on other days, I think it can help to remember that you're not a robot. You're not an automaton designed for maximum writing efficiency. You do not have to feel guilty for taking a break, whether that's a day or a month or longer. Your mental health matters far more than your ability to write. And I also think that having a healthy headspace is also going to make you a better writer anyways. And then when you're ready and you're rested, you can come back to the page. Try again. There is no judgment in the space you create for yourself. There is only you and your words and what can be done in the time that you are writing. So remember to create that space for yourself, whether it's a physical space or a headspace. Remember, you're a real writer. So go write.